You can have fun. So questions 50 through 60 are going to deal with inequalities and equations. So what I'd like to ask that you do is please take notes. But what is an inequality, or what is a equation? Well, basically you're solving for an unknown number, and usually an unknown number is a variable. Guys, take a look at this Z. It could be any letter, A through Z, 26 letters. You're trying to find that unknown value. So right off, what you want to do is you want to isolate that value. How do we do that? Well, let's take a look. 6Z plus 5 is greater than 35. You guys have heard me say this 100 times. You want to get the variable on the left side and the numbers on the other. Or just whatever you do, get the variables on one side, the numbers on the other. So here's what we do. We take away 5 from both sides. As you guys know, 5 minus 5 is 0, so that's gone. 35 minus 5 is 30. So we have now the numbers on the right-hand side. We have a coefficient and a variable. So right now we have 6z. How are we going to get z by itself? We divide both sides by the coefficient. We divide both sides by this number. And as you guys can see, z is now by itself because 6 over 6 is 1. And 6 goes into 35 times. I've done all the work. And now I'm going to take a look, and you can see that we have two possibilities. Z is either going to be less than 5 or greater than 5. And as you can see right here, this is a greater sign. So what does that mean? Well, if I draw a graph, you guys can see here's my positive 5, here's my negative 5. What numbers are going to be greater than 5? It's going to be all of these numbers. I'm going to use a different color. So any number to the right of 5 on the number line is going to be greater than 5. 6, 7, 900, 1,000, they're all going to be on this portion or this side of the number line. Okay? So now we're going to, once again, solve for x. I'll go ahead and rewrite the problem. Negative 3x plus 2. This is probably one of the most important concepts you can know for your 7th grade CASP test, which will be in 1 week. So once again, take a look at this operation. This is a plus. You do the opposite. Take away 2 from both sides. We have a negative 3x equals negative 9. Once again, some kids may get stuck here, but what you do is you divide by the coefficient. Fernando, what is the coefficient? What number is this? It's a negative 3. So we're going to divide by negative 3. As you guys know, we learned that a negative divided by a negative is a positive. And once again, we have x is equal to 3. This answer is letter C. I would say do all your work, and if you do have multiple choice questions on CASP, then make sure that it is one of the answers that you ended up with. Now, if you didn't get positive 3 and you don't have one of the answers here, I would do the problem over. Once again, this test is not timed. Take as much time as you possibly can. For those that have paper right now, please go ahead and solve for h. And I'll give you a little hint. Take away 32 from both sides. And you should have 4h is equal to 28. You should know how to divide both sides by the coefficient, which will tell you what h is. Go ahead and try that. Go. So as you can see, 4 over 4 is 1, 1h is h, and 4 goes into 28 7 times. And so once again, if we plug this back in, 4 times 7 is 28, and 28 plus 32 is 60. So when you plug in this value back into h, it will make this equation true. And as you can see, A is 7 hours. We received 7 before selecting the correct answer. Number 53, once again, it's really just self-explanatory. Once you understand this concept, you'll look at these questions and be like, I'm going to nail these. These are easy. So first thing, to get the number to the right-hand side, we look at the operation. This is a plus. We do the opposite. We take away 2 from both sides. That now makes this equation 4x is equal to 20. And I could pretty much ask you guys, 4 times what equals 20? I think you all could know and solve that problem. So absolutely, thank you, David. 4 times 5 is 20, so therefore, as you guys can see, x is equal to 5, and there you go, 5.0 as a decimal is 5. We're almost done. Thank you guys for paying attention. This problem really, frankly, is just two multiplication problems. 18 times 3 and 15 times 2. So sometimes we don't even have to really overthink things, meaning we don't have to set this up as an equation. We can basically just say 18 plus 3, and you guys can use your calculator, and 15 plus 2. And then you add these two numbers together. Anyone do that? So 54 and 30 is equal to what? Yeah, nailed it. There you go. So, Carrie, let's say I don't get 84. Let's say I make a mistake in my problem solving and I get 82. Do you have a recommendation for your classmates if they don't see the answer as one of the choices? What should they do? Well, shrugging your shoulders probably is not going to help you. What I would recommend doing, and this is why we're talking about this, Carrie, is because I would love for you to re-solve the problem. Let's say that, Carrie, I made a mistake. 18 times 3 is, let's say I say this is 58. And then 58 plus 30, and I look for 88, and I don't see it here. Well, then, once again, I would recommend doing this over. And then, oh, I realized I made a mistake there. 18 times 3 is 54, and now re-correcting the problem. Take your time. Don't rush. Also, another thing I'd recommend doing is use process of elimination. Usually, there will be 4 possible answers. You can get rid of the funky answers and have a better guess. 36 for 3 hours of work. So what we have here is $36 for 3 hours of work. Okay? And you can see with this problem, I like to circle the numbers in a word problem. Also, word problems, read it multiple times. Juanita earns $36 for 3 hours of work. At that rate, how long would she have to work to earn $720? Well, you guys can see that she makes $12 per hour. That's kind of a minimum wage in California. So basically, how many times will 12, meaning her wage, go into 720? So this is going to be the hours of that she works. So hours that she works times the wage will equal the total money that you earn. So you could use your calculator. Once again, how many times will 12 go into 720? And even easier, how many times will 12 go into 72? And then you just add a 0 to that answer. Close. 8 times 12 is 96, but 12 times 6 is 72. So it was close. Yes. There you go, bud. Awesome. And as you guys can see, so do the work and then check to see if your answer is there. Now with CASP, I want to point out, when the CST was given out years ago, there was only one correct answer. With CASP, sometimes there's multiple correct answers. Last but not least, proportions were taught in September and August. Many of us had a tough time. Here's a scale. So if it's a 7-pound weight and it stretches 24.5 inches, you're going to create a proportion. And then what they're asking you is, if you have a 12-pound weight, what is the amount of distance that the spring is going to stretch? Now this is a really tough concept. Basically, you can kind of look at it as two ways. What is an equivalent fraction of 24.5 over 7? And then figure out that as what the numerator is. Or you can cross multiply. So when you guys set up the proportion, that's a challenge, and then solving for x is also a challenge. You guys remember cross multiplication? It was taught 6 months ago. We've really struggled for that. 7x, as you can see, 7 times x, and then 24.5 times 12. Can someone with a calculator find that out for me, if you don't mind? 24.5 times 12. 24.5 times 12. I'll wait. 294. Thank you, sir. And then, Oscar, if you don't mind, can you divide 294 by 7? Figure out how many times 7 goes into 294. And that should be our answer. Yeah. We said 32? Oh, 42. And so you told me, I heard 32 at first, and I was like, I looked here and I didn't see it. But then you said 42, you corrected me, and as you can see, that is the correct answer. All right, guys, I think we're done. Once again, that was 10 minutes. One of the things that I would do with word problems is really focus on the numbers. I would recommend circling them or writing them down. I would also reread the problems multiple times. As you guys know, Carrie, we talked about a few different strategies as far as taking your time, rereading, making educated guesses, and thank you guys for allowing us to talk about those strategies. Hopefully you'll use them in 1 week.